Williams driver Alex Albon is not expecting Imola this weekend to be as easy for the team to score points as Miami, where it took its biggest haul from the first 6 races with a dozen netted. The British team has already made its switch over to 2026, so will need to work on setup and other things across the remaining 18 races. But Albon told official podcast F1 Nation in Miami that Williams is focused on understanding its car better with each race.
I don't think it will be as easy. We just came out of a meeting right now where we basically go through a bit of a reverse engineering briefing of why is this track working for us? You know, what is it about this circuit? Because obviously we want to be this competitive everywhere. We were as quick as a Mercedes this weekend. We were quicker than a Ferrari.
The motorsport community was in shock ahead of Imola, with news that former Alpine boss Oliver Oakes' brother, William Oakes, a director of junior operation High-Tech, had been remanded in custody. The 31-year-old was charged with transferring criminal property after he was found in possession of a large amount of cash when stopped at Silverstone Park area on May 1st, and was remanded in custody after appearing before the Northampton Magistrates Court 2 days later. Oliver Oakes is not linked to his brother's arrest and is not accused of any wrongdoing. Ex-F1 driver Juan Pablo Montoya says that Liam Lawson's Racing Bull seat is far from safe this season, with the veteran Colombian expecting to see him replaced if he doesn't improve. Lawson was dropped back to Red Bull's second team just 2 races into his tenure, following Q1 and SQ1 exits in both Australia and China, with the squad blaming it on a downward spiral. But while the Racing Bull's car is easier to drive at the limit, Lawson has since failed to show up his new teammate, rookie Isaac Hadjar, who has outqualified him 3-1 and beaten him 3-0 in races. And Montoya says that Lawson is now under threat to keep his drive for the rest of the season, with highly rated F2 pilot Arvid Lindblad waiting in the wings with enough super license points to race. I'll tell you the truth, if Liam doesn't improve any further, I wouldn't be surprised if they put Lindblad in at some point, he said. Not at all. I wouldn't be a little surprised. Albert Park is set for a revamp following the 2026 Australian Grand Prix, with a $225 million upgrade of its pit building, with construction expected to be completed ahead of the 2028 race. Melbourne is set to host the Australian Grand Prix until 2037, and its last deal extension included a provision for a pit facility upgrade, including an expansion of its paddock club to host 5,000 people. The new building will feature 14 garages, race control and administration, and a media center. For other sports held there throughout the year, it'll also have more indoor sports courts and better club rooms. Lewis Hamilton headed to Imola for his first home race for Ferrari from New York, where last week he hit the Met Gala red carpet with his fellow co-chairs, actor Coleman Domingo and Vogue icon Anna Wintour. Hamilton, who sported an ivory suit complete with a beret, led a massive sporting presence at the event, including Olympic gymnastics champion Simone Biles, tennis superstar sisters Serena and Venus Williams, and NBA Hall of Famer Dwayne Wade. Mexico will be thrilled with news that McLaren reserve Pato O'Ward has been handed another FP1, his 4th in F1, at his home race in October. O'Ward, who drives for McLaren in IndyCar, is 4th in the standings there, having notched his 2nd podium for the season in Sunday's Soncio Grand Prix, held on the Indianapolis Motor Speedway's road course ahead of the Indy 500. O'Ward's FP1 news came hot on the heels of the announcement Mexico will remain on F1's calendar until at least 2028, with the nation's capital keen to safeguard the popular event's future.
Since 2015, this Grand Prix has been recognized as the best in terms of professionalism, safety, enthusiasm, the level of organisation, and the level of enthusiasm that the whole country experiences with us.
Mercedes says it's planning to introduce some more obvious upgrades to its cars across the next few races, but that the pace of the season so far, with 6 races completed in just 9 weeks, has made it much harder to get the developments installed. The Silver Arrows have added upgrades at just 2 races so far, a major 6-part package at the season opener in Australia, including floor, wings and front suspension, and a new rear wing in Miami. But while Mercedes technical director James Allison says the upgrades haven't been either enormous or sexy, he says more are on the way to reach the W16s in Europe.
I think we can expect to have an okay shout of getting the car reasonably well up the grid in qualifying. With a bit of luck, the upgrades might make that, you know, a bit better still. But the main thing we'll be focusing on is trying to get that race pace under control, trying to make sure that we deliver on the promise of our Saturdays on the Sunday. And that's all about, well, the majority of it will be about controlling the temperature of those tyres.
Ex-Williams deputy team boss Claire Williams says all she thinks about is whether she could have held on to the family team for just one more year before the sport's popularity exploded. Williams was sold to U.S. investment firm Doralton Capital in 2020 for just $200 million, which is a fifth of what it may have been valued just a year later under F1's cost cap era. But while Williams told F1's official podcast Beyond the Grid, the sale is still a source of pain for her and her family, it was the right decision at the time, especially during the bleak COVID period.
I still dream about that. I wish that we had been able to cling on for another year, and I still question, could we have done? You know, and I've had conversations. I mean, Good this time, said, Jesus, I can't do his accent. Jesus, why didn't you sort something out? Just carried on for another year. And it was, if I could have done, I would have done. Of course I would.
Two-time World Rally Champion and Dakar winner Carlos Sainz Sr. says now is the right time for him to consider running for FIA president against Mohammed Ben Sulayem. El Matador is an enduring icon of the sport, having competed in rallying since 1980, with his potential campaign set to make him Ben Sulayem's sole challenger in this year's December election. Sainz, though, said there would be no conflict of interest with his son, F1 driver Carlos Sainz Jr., who is well established in the sport, and that he would step away from his career management. Sainz, 63, would be seen as a calming strategic force at the FIA, much like its former president John Todt, a real contrast to Ben Sulayem, who has courted controversy at every turn. I have accumulated a lot of experience in this sport throughout the years, and I'm certain I can bring new and interesting things to strengthen and develop the sport and the automobile world, he said. Goodwood's Festival of Speed is set for an all-star F1 cast to celebrate the sport's titanic milestone's 75th anniversary, with 1992 world champion Nigel Mansell the latest to confirm his attendance. The iconic Brit will take his championship-winning Williams FW14B and 1986's multiple race-winning FW11 up the hill. Mansell will join fellow world champions Alain Prost and Mario Andretti in the gigantic celebration. 2025's event, held from July 10 to 13, will be another F1-dominated festival, following 2024's edition, where Red Bull celebrated 20 years in F1. Thanks for watching. To stay up to speed on all things Formula One, make sure you hit the subscribe button.